Welcome to Early Exchange with Femi Ayodele, Sam Oruoje, and Idahosa Osamanze.
Sustain that industry. So if government does not have much money, they should find an enabling environment.
Now, what are these issues? The petrol is still imported because local refineries are not working.
Does it stop at giving a directive? What should be done to ensure that this is done?
One of the factors being identified by our key persons is the issue of transportation. For you to have a sustainable city, you must have a deliberate attempt to have a master plan.
This is Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Tell me when I'm on here. Welcome to Early Exchange, where we talk about all that has to do with business, finance, and the economy. You know, it's time for us to shape policy and advance development, and that's why it's our obligation to do that today. I am Femi Ayodele. Today's show, we're going to focus on the ICT sector. We're going to look at cybersecurity, everything that has to do with this sector, and I hope that for spending the 3 hours with us, you will enjoy the best of programming. Let's go on a break now, and when we return, Freta will be standing by to take news updates. Stay with us.
Good morning and welcome to the morning news update on Souk News. I am Alfreta Ambe Bassi. On today's bulletin, we bring you up to speed on the latest developments and happenings during the weekend. And that begins right after this break. Welcome back. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has announced the appointment of Mr. Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, as the chairman of the African Governors Forum of the World Bank. According to reports, this is the first time in 60 years that Nigeria has assumed the role of chairman, a significant milestone for the country, which demonstrates Nigeria's growing influence on the international stage, particularly in matters of finance and the economy. The African Governors Forum, which includes finance ministers and central bank governors from across Africa, plays a crucial role in shaping economic policies and strategies, and this will allow Nigeria to have a direct impact on the forum's decision-making processes. And away from that, Nigeria's oil production reached its highest level since January 2023 with an output of 1.7 million barrels per day in October. According to an agreement with OPEC, Nigeria's target oil output for the months of August to November ranges between 1.826 million barrels per day and 1.747 million barrels per day. And from January to December 2024, the country is expected to reduce its production quota to 1.380 million barrels per day. Similarly, the data from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission confirms the record-breaking October oil production, reflecting Nigeria's ongoing efforts to increase its output despite the challenges posed by adhering to OPEC agreements. And moving on, the Standard Organization of Nigeria is committed to aligning Nigeria with the global vision of achieving international product standards. This was revealed by the Director of Human Resources at SON, Timothy Abner, during a walk to commemorate World Standard Day 2023. While stressing the importance of the theme, Shared Vision for a Better World, Abner noted that this vision aims to establish consistent standard and to combat substandard products that lack value. The federal government has approved the sum of over 30 billion naira for Security Department allowance for military veterans. The Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, made this known during the ministerial briefing for the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration. He noted that the approval shows government's dedication to veterans' well-being, stating that the phased rollout of the Security Department allowance, which had previously excluded veterans, began in January 2023. By this, all veterans who retired or discharged honorably from the services of the Armed Forces of Nigeria will reap this benefit. And in a new development, in a successful operation, Nigerian military troops has rescued 4 students of the Federal University, Gusau, who had been abducted by terrorists in Zamfara State and were kidnapped from their off-campus residence in Sabon Gida, Damba district of Gusau local government area. Acting on distress calls, the troops swiftly blocked the bandits' escape routes, engaging them in a fierce firefight. As a result, 2 students managed to escape on their own, while the military safely rescued the remaining male and female students. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation has secured Empower beneficiaries of payment of 8 months' debt held by the consultant. The National Program Manager of Empower, Akindele Eguwalo, made this known following the meeting held with representatives of the Empower beneficiaries. Akindele further revealed that the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, has been working round the clock to arrest irregularities within the program and other social investment programs. We'll go on a short break and return with more stories after the break. Welcome back. And now away from Nigeria, we move to Zambia, where Zambia's Ministry of Finance says the country has signed a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, with its bilateral creditors to restructure approximately $6.3 billion in debt, marking a resolution nearly 3 years after the country's default. Zambia, the first African nation to default on its debt during the pandemic, achieved a critical step in its debt restructuring journey by establishing preliminary terms for debt renegotiation with official creditors, including China and members of the Paris Club of Creditor Nations back in June. Under the new agreement, Zambia is set to benefit from extended debt maturities, averaging over 12 years, featuring low interest rates of 1% for the next 14 years and a maximum of 2.5% thereafter, with provisions for increased payments with the event of stronger than anticipated economic performance. However, Zambia is set to pay approximately $750 million over the next 10 years, a stark reduction from the nearly $6 billion owed to official creditors prior to the debt restructuring. And we move to South Africa. In a bid to address South Africa's severe power shortages, the country is in talks with World Bank for a possible $1 billion loan to support restructuring in its energy sector. The proposed loan, intended for the government rather than state utility, is currently being considered, as stated by the World Bank's Director for South Africa, Marie Francois Marinelli, during an interview in Marrakesh, Morocco. The potential World Bank funding, described as a policy development loan, is designed to assist essential reforms with a notable emphasis on addressing transmission challenges which have hindered the integration of new capacity, primarily to be developed by the private sector. Furthermore, the proposed loan will assist South Africa to achieve transition from coal with a focus on mitigating the impact on vulnerable individuals. And away from that, OPEC has warned that the absence of future investment in the oil sector poses a threat to global energy security and has the potential to drive crude oil prices to $100 per barrel. OPEC General Secretary Haytham Al-Ghais noted that the global oil industry needs a substantial investment of at least $12.1 trillion from now till 2045 to avert a surge in energy prices. Emphasizing the importance of diversified energy sources, OPEC stressed the expected 23% increase in global energy demand by 2045, with OPEC projecting demand to reach 160 million barrels per day and a 6.0 million barrels per day increment from their previous estimate. The anticipated growth in energy demand is expected to be primarily driven by India, China, and other Asian nations, Africa, and the Middle East. International Monetary Fund countries are yet to agree on a US-backed plan to boost IMF funding without giving more shares to China and other big emerging markets. As IMF and World Bank annual meetings concluded in Morocco, the chair of the IMF Steering Committee, Nadia Calvino, issued a statement urging new quota contributions that would, at the very least, sustain the fund's current resource level, especially considering the expiration of bilateral growing arrangements totaling $185 billion. The U.S. Treasury's proposal for countries to provide new quota funds based on their existing shareholdings, which have remained unchanged since 2010, received backing from G7 nations, India, and several other emerging markets. China, with its economy 3 times larger than in 2010, remained persistent in advocating for additional IMF shares, with the People's Bank of China Governor Pen Gongsheng emphasized the need for both a quota increase and a rebalancing of shares to better represent members' global economic standings and enhance the influence of emerging markets and developing nations. Similarly, members of the International Monetary Fund is set to conduct a quota funding review by December 15, expressing backing for an increase that sustains IMF's total lending resources as bilateral borrowing arrangements approach expiration. The statement from the Fund Steering Committee Chair and Spanish Economy Minister Nadia Calvino urged proposals for altering IMF's shareholding formula by June 2025. The statement emphasized the need for transitional arrangements proposed by the Executive Board to preserve the IMF's existing resource envelope until a quota increase takes effect. And in a new development, Ferrari has initiated cryptocurrency payment acceptance for its high-end sports cars in the US, with plans to expand the program to Europe in response to customer demand. Most blue-chip firms have avoided cryptocurrencies due to the impracticality stemming from Bitcoin's volatility and regulatory inconsistencies, coupled with high energy consumption, hindering the adoption as a viable payment method. Ferry's Chief Marketing and Commercial Officer, Enrico Galleria, hinted that cryptocurrencies are actively working on reducing their carbon footprint by implementing new software and increasing their reliance on renewable energy sources. And away from that, Costa Rican officials are straining economic relations with China as they have labeled Chinese companies a cybersecurity risk to the progress of 5G networks. Earlier last week, Costa Rica's Science, Technology and Telecommunications Minister Paula Bogantes Zamora informed legislators that China poses a security concern for the developing digital network, with another senior ministry official characterizing the Chinese government as totalitarian. The Chinese embassy in San Jose strongly criticized the Costa Rican officials, stating that they seriously impact Chinese companies' confidence and expectations for economic trade activities in Costa Rica and are viewed as irresponsible and unfounded by China. In August, Costa Rican President Rodrigo Chavez endorsed a decree to oversee 5G mobile network expansion and prohibited companies from nations that haven't ratified an international cybercrime convention. The decree's ban encompasses technology companies from China, South Korea, Russia, Brazil, and other countries. The European Union leaders will meet later in October to call for decisive progress in the utilization of the Russian assets frozen by sanctions to aid Ukraine, as outlined in their draft statement resolving a long-standing issue. Last month, the United States and Britain has expressed backing for an EU proposal to tax surplus profits derived from the frozen Russian sovereign assets in order to fund Ukraine amid its ongoing conflict with a full-scale Russian invasion that began in February 2022. The European Union's efforts within its 27 member states to utilize frozen Russian state assets to support Ukraine have faced repeated delays, primarily stemming from legal issues and challenges, as the EU's sanctions on private Russian wealth have been contested in court. And that's a package today on the Morning News Update. I am Alfreda Ambe-Basi. Stay tuned for more analysis on the Morning News Update. Thanks for watching.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
My name is Larry, and I play Afro reggae music.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souk News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it, because this is Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souk News. Here's the Souk News, who had the courage to transcend a locked-off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souk News. Thank you very much.
If you want to advertise your product, just come here and let us help you to get to places. Yeah, you can't do it alone. No, you need this channel to do it for you.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
My name is Larry, and I play Afro reggae music.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souk News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it because this is Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souk News. Here's the Souk News who had the courage to transcend a locked off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souk News. Thank you very much.
If you want to advertise your product, just come here and let us help you to get to places. Yeah, you can't do it alone. No, you need this channel to do it for you.
Refineries are not working.
Does it stop at giving a directive? What should be done to ensure that this is done?
One of the factors being identified by our key persons is the issue of transportation. For you to have a sustainable city, you must have a deliberate attempt to have a master plan.
This is early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
All right, glad you have you joined us on Early Exchange, where we shape policy and advance development with our conversation. It's time for news analysis now. Time for us to review major headlines trending today. And as usual, we're being joined by our in-house analyst, the Vice President of Femi Wash, that's Idahosa Osamaze. He's joining us virtually this morning. Idahosa, glad to have you join us this morning on Early Exchange.
Good morning, Femi.
Yeah.
My pleasure to be here.
How is it like to be on the
Live
other side
from,
this morning?
the nation's capital in Abuja.
Idahosa joins us from Abuja, and we also have Blessing here. Blessing, how are you today?
I'm good, Femi. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a new week.
Yeah, a new opportunity and a new
course.
time to make history.
Yes, it is. For everyone and for your businesses. Thank you for joining us on Early Exchange. And good morning, Idahosa Osamaze. It's good to know that you're in the Federal Capital Territory. Please let the good wind blowing over there get to Lagos and every other parts of the country.
We are in for the best of this country. Nigeria is getting better by the day. That's why we're in Abuja. You are looking good this morning, Blessing.
All right, let's start with the first story. It's a good one, a good news, where the president has announced the appointment of Mr. Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, as the chairman of Africa Governors Forum of the World Bank. This story, I find it remarkable. This is the first time in 60 years, Nigeria will be heading this position, and it's no other person than Wale Edun, who has proved his capacity when it comes to handling issues related to finance and the economy. You could remember he was one time, commissioner in Lagos State. He used to work with, Ashwaju when, or our president, when he was the governor of Lagos State, and now he's been appointed as the chairman of African Governors Forum. Let me take that to Idahosa first. Idahosa, what's your reaction to this good news about Wale Edun?
I think it's a welcome development. It's a news that we should all celebrate, that the world is also having to do business with us. Having our own Minister for Finance, who is a seasoned banker, an investment banker for that matter, to drive the entire of Africa, is again an opportunity for us to leverage this leadership role that God has naturally given to us by virtue of our population to drive the continent of Africa. It's a good thing happening to us, and I am also very confident that Mr. Wale Edun will not let us down.
I'm so excited because Nigeria is gaining its space as the giant of Africa. Hopefully this is going to also add to the influence Nigeria is going to have on the African continent. If in the last 60 years, we've not had that privilege, Nigeria has not had that privilege, and now the opportunity is coming to our finance minister. So I'm hoping that he's going to do his best to ensure that Nigeria is playing very well at the global space. Interestingly, the African Governors Forum comprises of finance minister from different African countries and the central bank governors. So I'm hoping this will make impact on, the image of Nigeria, because we need to regain our space and regain our prestige when it comes to the issue of, an African continent, and then handling our role when it comes to the big brother of Africa.
Yes, it's a good opportunity for Nigeria to prove herself. For quite a while, Nigeria has left the center stage when it comes to coordinating things in Africa. And first with President Tinubu becoming the chairman of the AU, ECOWAS chairman, it's just an opportunity for Nigeria to begin to play the big brother role, coordinate things. And now we have Wale Edun being appointed as the chairman of the African Governors Forum. Like you mentioned, there are finance ministers and CBN governors from other African countries in that forum. So that will give Nigeria the opportunity to push for initiatives that will foster growth in Africa and also benefit Nigeria. One of them I'm looking at is policies that will foster trade relations between African countries and remove those bottlenecks that have been hindrances. So it's a good win for Nigeria. It also goes to show the belief or the confidence that people have in these individuals, the confidence that Africa has in President Bola Tinubu and also in Wale Edun as it regards financial matters.
That's great. Let's move on. Another good news, this one has to do with the oil sector. Nigeria's oil production reached its highest level since January 2023, with an output of 1.7 million barrels per day in October. In the last 6 months, we've not been able to reach that level. And interestingly, the last figure released in October was 1.7 million. Idausa, what do you feel? What's your reaction to this good news?
Well, I'm happy to see that the numbers are moving up gradually, but I think we need to do real more in terms of meeting up with our quota for OPEC, which is 2 million barrels per day. And even the 2 million barrels per day vis-a-vis our population is still very little. If you compare that with the United Arab Emirates, where, of course, about 10 million people having to deal with 3.3 million barrels per day, I think there's a whole lot we really need to do to see how we can close the leakages, that we can fulfill our OPEC quota, and then, of course, drive for more. And this, of course, will require a lot of security in the region, that those who have the responsibility of ensuring that our drilling and our the crew that we are drilling daily reaches its destination. For me, it's important. We thank God that we have gotten to 1.7 in the last 10 months, but I think we can do a lot better.
What do you think we still need to do more as a nation to sustain this tempo and maintain this level of production and efficiency?
I think it's more stakeholder engagement that government really need to do. You see, hiring people to go to look at the pipeline to ensure that, of course, there are no leakages and things like that is good. But when you engage with community who bear this oil and they know what this means to them, they become your natural security operatives. And then, of course, you can be sure that your pipelines are well protected. And then, of course, we also need to deploy a lot of technology in terms of surveillance, because some people are of the opinion that we actually produce more than 2 million barrels per day. But what gets sold or get to the official coffers is what we are here saying is 1.7. So how do we block these leakages? And this is what government really need to do. Engage with oil-bearing communities and see how they can help us leverage. And this engagement can be very simple, because if these people can see that, of course, the drilling is affecting them positively, chances are that they are going to support government in protecting those critical infrastructure that carries and bear the oil. So I think this is what we need to do. We need to engage with the stakeholders, the communities that bear this oil or the pipelines, so that, of course, there are no vandalism and what is actually drilled gets to the national coffers?
Well, for me, I think it's good that for the first time in a long while, Nigeria is getting to 1.7 million barrels per day, but it's still a far cry from what Nigeria was producing previously. There was a time Nigeria was producing up to 2.3 million barrels per day, and the target was 2.9 million barrels per day, so it's still a far cry, but it's good that we're getting there. I think beyond the community, the host community, because this is high-level theft, for you to even steal as low as 25,000 barrels. It takes a whole lot to make that happen. So it's not just pipeline vandalism that is ongoing, it is serious level oil theft, which the government, the administration before now had done some things to improve surveillance at the shore level and other parts of the Niger Delta area. International Product Standard. Now they reviewed this. This was reviewed by the Director of Human Resources at SUN, Timothy Abner, during a work to commemorate World Standard Day 2023. Femi, you agree with me that one of the issues that Nigerians have with patronizing locally made goods is the quality of the goods. They want to be assured of value for their money, and they want to be assured that the goods are up to standard and durable. We have different companies producing, and we say buy Nigeria, patronize Nigeria, but this cannot happen until the standard of goods are of very good quality and can even compete with international standards. So the SUN asking that Nigerians should align with global vision of achieving international product standard. What will it take to have that happen? Because saying the manufacturers should align is one thing. Actually ensuring that it happens is another thing.
Which is where the standard organization needs to come in. You know, most of the time, like I always say, the policies, the right policies are there, the right framework are there. But when it comes to the area of supervision, that's where the challenge, the area of compliance. Most of these manufacturers, they know the standard. When it comes to manufacturing of goods, manufacturing of products, they know the right standard has been stipulated by, you know, Standard Organization of Nigeria. But how well do they comply with this? And this is where the area of, you know, supervision comes in. I understand the fact that the Standard Organization of Nigeria might have its own challenges, but it's also important that they perform their, you know, statutory responsibility. And in recent times, they've been living up to that. Of course, they need to do more. They need more hands or more mechanism to ensure that they do thorough supervision to ensure that some of these products are even, you know, from the point of entry, they are being inspected. You have, that's why at the airport, you know, some of these entries, you have representatives of several agencies conducting inspection. You have Standard Organization of Nigeria, you have NAFDAC. They are all at the point of entry to ensure that these goods, you know, comply with the standard. But we just discovered that in spite the level of surveillance, in spite the level of, you know, supervision, some of these products find their way to the market. And that's where it's important to ensure that they widen their network or their mechanism to ensure that some of these products are being stopped from the point of entry so that they won't get to the open market. Because once it gets there, so an average user who doesn't understand what standard should be all about, there are certain people who use some products, they don't even care about the specific, about the standard or specification. And then we've gone past the area where Nigerians have preference. Of course, there's still little preference for foreign products, but the awareness is there that yes, we have the capacity to produce these products in respect to international standard, as long as people can comply with the stipulated standard and there will be thorough supervision. I think the level of products will be better for it.
All right, let's find out what Idahosa thinks about this. Ensuring standard of goods produced in Nigeria. What's your take?
I think it's something that we need to take very seriously, especially the goods that, even those that are manufactured in Nigeria, it's not just the goods that come into Nigeria alone. And I think this is the area where the Standard Organization of Nigeria will actually need to up their games. In terms of competitiveness, you cannot really take things that are made here and compete with even your neighboring countries. And therefore, you cannot earn foreign exchange from the things that are even made locally. And I think this is important, that we have to set very high standard, excellent standard for ourselves. That if we have to do anything, we need to do it well. Standard Organization of Nigeria need a whole lot to do in the area of advocacy and training, that is not just giving people certification to go and do jobs that are not supervised. I like the way Femi put it. Supervision is important and it is critical. That when people are bringing things into the market, then of course we should know that what is coming into the market can compete with any such product that is produced anywhere in the world. And without such excellence, we cannot actually reach the kind of economic development and growth that we are aiming for. And this is very critical. And this lies very critically with the Standard Organization of Nigeria. They need to invest in technology in terms of seeing how to actually be able to capture everybody who produces things in Nigeria. And then, of course, there's also a need for people to be shown how to do things, specifications, well written, how things should be in terms of production. This had to be mapped out. They can't sit in the office and expect that people will comply with standard. So there's a whole need to strengthen that body because they are also critical for Nigeria really moving to the position within the Committee of Nations, where we can't compete with Ghana, we cannot compete with Togo in terms of products that are made here. And that's why you see, even within our space here, people want to do POP, just ordinary POP. We'll be looking for people from Togo. Mechanics will be looking for people from Ghana. That is not good enough. We must set standard for ourselves. For training institutions that are training out these people who are doing this work, they have to be trained well. Whether they are carpenters, whether they are mechanics, whether they are people who just photographers, or anybody that needs to, they have to be satisfied. Like what they used to have, they call it City and Guild from London, that certify people and give them the kind of competence to be able to play in the market. And I think we need to do this, and that's the way to really become competitive as a nation.
All right, let's move on to the next story, which has to do with NPower. The Federal Ministry of Human Affairs and Poverty Alleviation has assured beneficiaries of payment of 8 months debt held by the consultant. You're aware that this scheme was put in place by the former president as a way to tackle the issue of youth unemployment and to provide room for them to empower themselves and for social investment. But in recent times, that scheme had to be suspended because, certain irregularities, were recorded or reported. And as a result, it affected about 500,000 youths who have been the beneficiaries of this scheme. Now, the challenge now here is that for some months, they've been owed some, salaries. The arrangement with the scheme is they are being paid some stipends monthly, and for like 8 months or more, they've not been paid. And so the minister now is giving the assurance that these things will be looked into. And this also talks about, several policies that have been instituted by the government. They need to ensure that the purpose for which these schemes are being created, are being achieved, a situation whereby these people are being owed salaries. How do you expect them to survive for like 8 months or more? And so it brings, the question of efficiency into government policy, whereby you start a policy, tomorrow, there's a policy somersault, and as a result, it's a situation of when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. And, in this case, the grass here, they are the beneficiaries.
Well, yes, I sympathize with those who are part of the scheme that have been owed 8 months' salary. In this is not a time for anyone to be owed salary at all. I'm not talking about having a backlog of 8 months. But then, let me flip the coin to something that we perhaps have not looked at. What are they doing actually? Because you go to some of the ministries and some of the MDAs where these persons are attached to, you hardly find some of them at work. I personally have been to one ministry where you had some persons from NPower. It's more like people just come in to mark register. Oh, I'm here. And sometimes you don't even find some of them. Those you find on the feed are some that are assigned to Ministry of Agriculture and used maybe as extension workers to provide support. But for others, they barely come around. So it's not just enough for they to be asking governments to pay them. Yes, it's an agreement, it's a scheme. If you engage people, then you must pay them. But governments should also ensure that they are contributing their quota, because it was a way to bridge the gap the unemployment gap. So if they are being paid, whether it's stipend or allowance, they should also justify the allowance or stipend that they are paid, so that we can have people contributing. Actually, you're taking money from government to fund this, then they should be rendering some service and monitoring, because where there is no monitoring, people just don't bother to go to work. They feel, after all, the stipend is very small and it's not even coming regularly, so they need to look for other means of providing for themselves. But like it also, I would say sometimes, if you find the pay very small, don't bother to take on the job. That's my take.
Let's see what you will have to say this time around. Idahosa, what's your take on the
Thank you, Femi. I think Blessing made a very valid point there, and it's critical. And this is where we will continue to speak to this issue of social intervention by our government, because the way we do social intervention today is like Santa Claus, Father Christmas, and that's not sustainable. And this is why you're having these kind of issues where government enter into agreement with people and they are not able to meet the obligations. You see, we, like the Holy Scripture says, we must be able to count our costs before we embark on a building project. Otherwise, people laugh at us, and this is what this is really amounting to. Social intervention is good, but there is no nation in the world who has set out to fight poverty that has ever succeeded by throwing money at people. Social intervention should be targeted. It's not the business of government to employ every citizen. What's the business of government? The business of government is to create an enabling environment for competition to happen. And when competition is happening, naturally, it's organic. Employment will be generated. This is the way it works everywhere. So the goal of government is to see what basic infrastructure do we need to put on the ground to create wealth, not throwing money at people in the name of fighting poverty. It can take us nowhere. It can only increase our burden. And this is why the government has become ineffective as we speak. So government must understand that interventions are good, but they have to be targeted intervention. If you are intervening in agriculture and you need hands in those areas, then you have to channel the resources toward that place. If it is industry you want to intervene in, you channel your resources towards that place, not just looking at people, and then you are throwing 30,000 naira to them in a month, and they actually don't know what to do. You have cases where empowers or people are employed to go to schools who have not read educations. They have no qualification to teach. So what do you really want them to go do in schools by saying you are empowering them? This is important to us, and our nation must understand that it is not in throwing money at people that fight poverty. The only antidote to poverty is wealth creation. And that is why we need to target our social interventions so that we reach out to critical sectors where this money can actually generate productivity and generate wealth for the nation.
All right, with that submission, we need to go now, and we have to thank you, Idahosa, for sharing your thoughts and for doing proper news analysis all the way from Abuja. Thank you so much for spending time with us this morning.
All my pleasure, Femi. Thank you so very much for having me this morning.
All right, we'll go on a short break now. When we return, our discussion for today will kick off. Just stay with us.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
My name is Larry, and I play Afro reggae music.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souk News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it because this is Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souk News. Here's the Souk News who had the courage to transcend a locked off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souk News. Thank you very much.
If you want to advertise your product, just come here and let us help you to get to places. Yeah, you can't do it alone. No, you need this channel to do it for you.
In this fast-paced digital era, cybersecurity stands as a beacon of protection, ensuring that our online adventures remain exciting yet secure. Hackers are like digital detectives who probe for weak spots in our online armor, and cyber defenders work round the clock to keep our information out of harm's way. How much do people know about cybersecurity?
Cybercrime is stealing, theft, would I say yes, being a fraudster, people that steal through internet, yes.
What comes to my mind is internet fraud, how different fraudsters try to take advantage of people who are ignorant in that aspect.
As human faces cyber threats, so are small and big businesses. Since we are all in this together, governments all over the world treat cyber attacks as a matter of national security, even as organizations have a role to play.
Cyber security is finding employment for young people. You are young now, you cannot, about 30, 35 I suppose, you are busy in this place. So you cannot have time to go and begin to use evil fingers to try to infiltrate people's accounts. So if like 5 or 10 of you or 50 of you are engaged doing something, you don't have time because you're very busy with your employment. So you won't have time to go and begin to do that thing. Those ones are free. They don't have work doing. That's why they keep putting their fingers in all those things.
Understanding cyber threats is crucial, and staying informed about the latest scams and tricks would help navigate through to safety.
There are lots of ignorant people out there. I even have a friend who was almost a victim, because I got there on time, so I was able to detect that. So please, there should be cybersecurity education to everyone out there.
By embracing intentional safety measures online, we empower ourselves to explore the digital realm without fear, knowing that our virtual frontiers are well guarded. With collective efforts to combat cybercrime, we contribute to a safer digital world for ourselves and the future generations.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
My name is Larry, and I play Afro reggae music.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souk News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it because this is Souk News.
Shout out to Souk News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souk News. Here's the Souk News who had the courage to transcend a locked off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souk News. Thank you very much.
If you want to advertise your product, just come here and let us help you to get to places. Yeah, you can't do it alone. No, you need this channel to do it for you.
Giving a directive, what should be done to ensure that this is done?
One of the factors being identified by our key persons is the issue of transportation. For you to have a sustainable city, you must have a deliberate attempt to have a master plan.
This is Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Welcome back. That report by Grace Komolafe has set the pace for our discussion for today. Our conversation today will center on cybersecurity, and to provide a better perspective, we're being joined by Felix Iziomo. He's the founder, executive director, International Center for Leadership Development in Nigeria. Felix, glad to have you join us on Early Exchange this morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Right. To start with, I would like you to give us a better perspective and a proper explanation of what cybersecurity is all about, so that for some of our viewers to have a proper understanding of what we want to talk about. Let's start with that.
Okay, once again, good morning. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, actually, this month is the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and which aims to raise awareness for people to be aware of the dangers of cybercrime, and also to protect their online activities, and for businesses, of course, to protect their devices, and also data. Customers' data, and individuals to protect their information. As an organization, what we do is we raise awareness for people to be aware of the dangers surrounding the internet, so people can be aware of the dangers in it. So cybersecurity all is just for individual to protect themselves, and making sure that all their devices are being protected and everything is installed in the proper way. Thank you.
All right, let's look at businesses now. How can a business achieve a robust cybersecurity framework, and what benefits will it be to them?
Well, for me, I believe business can help themselves by protecting themselves, like I said initially, and it's going to be a big benefit to businesses, because now there are other machine learning, artificial intelligence that is coming up for businesses to use to protect themselves, because there are a lot of threats out there, and human cannot protect these, whereas the need of artificial intelligence and machine learning has come in. So this helps the algorithms to help businesses protect their devices. So business can take advantage of this, and also get departments that can help protect this, because some of these businesses will not tell you what they are losing. They will not tell you, because of course they will not want you to know that happening, but they have to protect themselves from the dangers surrounding the threats. Thank you.
All right. I would like you to talk to us about some of the common types of cyber attacks, and then suggest ways to manage this form of attacks, the common type of cyber attacks here, especially in Africa.
Well, the common types of cyber attack we have is phishing, what I call phishing. This is where the criminal pretends to be a contact, and then they send you a link, and then you click on the link, or also malicious, to download a malicious file, or you give a sensitive access information. So that's phishing attack, one. Then I can also say malware attack. Malware, this is as a result of sending you Trojan and viruses, Then the third one I would say is ransomware, where the attacker, we attack your information and ask you to pay ransom. That's the third one. The fourth one, I'll go to weak password. I think weak password is what people face, and businesses also face this. When you don't have a strong password, your password must be unique, very strong, And then lastly, I would say insider threats. When I say insider, most times we talk to ourselves. We said, okay, do you know that some of this stealing that happens in the company, or maybe banks and the likes, is some of them are insider that are performing this act. So insider, and also some of them are ex-employees that are work with the company, and instead of them to change their password or their information for the company information, they still go with it, and then they use that to commit internet crime. So these are the major threats that I would consider as these businesses faced. Thank you.
All right. In order to ensure that you are secure, you have cybersecurity, it takes lots of investments too. But considering the investments you make to make yourself secure, and what could happen when you don't do all of that, how would you judge it? Is it cost saving? Is it something that you should do ahead of time?
Sorry, come again with that question, please.
All right. For you to have some of the softwares and the things that will help you to boost security of your network to ensure that you have a robust cyber security, sometimes you need to make some investment into it. Would you consider it cost saving, considering what could happen when some of those things are not in place?
Absolutely, absolutely. I will consider it to be cost saving because you don't know the dangers this will cost you in future. So investing in security softwares, let me not mention name, investing in security softwares is a good thing for company, for businesses. At the end, it will save you a lot because you don't know the damages this will cause in future. And you don't know how much you will lose. So investing in this is of course, for me, it's good. It's very good.
Okay, I would like you to educate viewers on the responsible use of passwords. You initially talked about the issue of weak passwords. I would like you to educate our viewers on the responsible use of passwords and strategy to put in place to avoid being vulnerable.
Okay, thank you. So when you come to a password, we have to be very, very careful and the way we use this password. Like for me, I change password regularly, probably 2 months, 3 months, I change password. And all my accounts, I use different passwords, but I try to remember them. You don't have to forget them. And also it is pertinent to use two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, to help you guide from these attackers. So a strong password, most times we say had a bit of numbers, characters, and symbols, and something that you can remember. Some people use their birth dates. Some people use some numbers for them because they feel is what they can remember easily, and which for me is not secure. So when you mix, and you see some of these online activities when they ask you for password, and they will tell you numbers, the characters and symbols, you had them, and then probably a capital letter mixed like that. So sometimes there are some password that you will put, it will take the attackers 2,000 years to crack. Some, it will take them 100 years to crack. They will try it, but of course. But when you put weak password, there are some registration you do online. When you insert the password, to tell you the weak password, strong password. So you get to know password that are strong. And there are ways you can generate password for you to know this password is strong and this password is weak. So it's better for one to have a stronger password, and also when you have opportunity, please use a multi-factor authentication, which we also call two-factor authentication. Now it's even easier for you. Now we have so many authenticator app that you can use to generate code. Because when you log into your whatever activities you want to do, when you log in, it will ask you to enter a password authenticator. So it will send a message to your phone, and then from your mobile phone, you will now authenticate it. So it goes automatically. In this way, attackers who want to invade into your system will have to, when you see the message come to your phone, it will know that, oh, somebody is trying to invade into your computer. So this is what individual or businesses need to be aware of, to have a strong password that will help them not to attackers not to access their devices. Thank you.
Make use of third-party vendors and partners. Now, how can they ensure that their third-party vendors or partners have adequate security measures? Because the clients may not even know of the third-party vendors or the partners. They just know the company that is at the forefront. What can happen to ensure this?
Well, what I share with my friends when it comes to third-party vendors now, some of us are third-party vendors. So we have to be, I would say, careful, but we cannot be careful enough. So what we do is this. We ask, like, companies should send a message to these people to let them know, okay, we are not the one. If you receive message from this, we are not the one that sent you these messages. And we should also be aware of what information we give out there. Some of these businesses, they ask for your personal information, and then you should be very careful with that. And then when you have any information, any message come to you as a third party, you have to verify with the business, with the company. You know, this will also help. And training also, send the messages to your probably vendors and let them know this is from you and this is not from you, and these are the things that you should expect from you, because this will also help you as a third party, you know, because of course we all have to do what we have to do. Thank you.
Now let's talk about the business side of this venture. For someone who wants to invest in this kind of business, you want to take it like a business to be a service provider. What are the basic requirements when it comes to capital, when it comes to, you know, finance, then the rudimentary skills needed for you to be an expert in this field?
Okay, let me share a story before I answer that question. Now, when you talk about experts, when it comes to cybersecurity, well, yes, we have experts, but everybody needs to be aware of this, because we all face this, and especially when it comes to business as well. So, you know, some people are just coming into business, while some people are already in the business. Some are coming into the business. So everybody needs to be expert in this field. Everybody. That is why we said cybersecurity is a collective responsibility. It's a collective responsibility in the sense that we all need to be aware of these dangers. Now, the story is this. In 2014, I was in India, a company, UST Global, and you know, I didn't have a computer science background. So I was there because of the project I run. So I went there for an internship, and the lady, there was a question that was raised, and then I told the lady, well, I'm sorry, I don't have a computer science background. So she said, nobody in this company was born with this background. Everybody learned it. So they went to school, some went to courses, went to training to learn it. So Felix, you can as well learn it to become an expert. Hence, where I am today, I learned it to become who I am today. So this is why everybody needs to be expert in this field. Everybody needs to go to training to learn this, because you face it, whether you like it or not. You are using internet. As far as you are using the internet, now, of course, we are now in the internet of things, where everything now is internet enabled. So we have to be an expert in, everybody needs to be an expert, whoever you are. So this is where expertise, professional comes in. You have to be training, engage yourself. Go to training, learn these things, so you can help yourself to secure this, not only for businesses, of course, because businesses will tell you they spend money to train their staff to to protect their data, information, and the likes. But individuals also need to be an expert to learn this. So this is what I have to develop myself, so I can become an expert in this area. Thank you.
Okay, let's look at training of staff. Now you've trained some staff, and for some reasons, the staff no longer work with that organization. They're already aware of the company procedures. They have been privileged to some vital information. What can the company do apart from changing passwords to ensure that data the staff were opportunities to have access to while they work there are still protected?
Okay, remember initially I talked about insider threats, and this is where insider threat comes in as part of what the company, the businesses should be aware of. Now, aside changing the password, the business or the company should alert the customers or the general public that this staff is no longer with them, and they should protect their information with this staff in case this staff get in touch with them. So this is one of the areas I consider to help the business or the company as against their customers. Let the general public know, send a message that this staff is no longer with them after you have changed password. Whatever the staff, the ex-employee, as the company devices or information that the ex-employee has, it should return them. And then they change everything about this and send the message out there that this social person is no longer with us. So mind the way you want to do business with this person. Thank you.
All right, the NITDA is in charge of cybersecurity and data protection in Nigeria. I would like to have your take about, the policies, how much the policies have, have been productive. And then when it comes to the issue of supervision and implementation, how successful has it been in recent times?
Well, NITDA as an organization, I've been doing a lot. I'll be honest. I've been following them, their activities, and then how they help. But of course, they cannot do everything. So, where we as businesses or individuals, we have to also start to protect ourselves. So, the policies over the years have been okay. What they have done to help businesses, to strive. But of course, like I said, businesses need to also protect themselves. Not some of these policies, you might say, okay, we need maybe more policies. There are some policies that you want, where you want to see people engaging. Of course, like I said, they are trying their best to bring strong policies that will help businesses to strive in terms of the cybersecurity world. Thank you.
All right, what are some of the new innovations in cybersecurity? I know that some apps have come up, some software, but what are some of the new innovations that people need to know? Oh, this doesn't work anymore, you need to do this. And how do you update? So how does a business update itself with current trends in cybersecurity so that they're not using outdated tools or methods?
Well, what I would say, the common, the trend now is, of course, the artificial intelligence and the machine learning. And I will tell you for sure is that we cannot rely on these machines, these algorithms, because of course these algorithms will help you in a way to detect, prevent, and also respond to cyber threats. But we cannot depend on these. We need what we call skilled human analysts, skilled human analysts that are required to help also comprehend the context and make decisions. So we cannot push that. We cannot push what we feel that is obsolete. No, we cannot push that away. We still need these human analysts to help make decisions. We cannot rely on these new trends that is coming up, these machines, algorithms that are coming up to help us detect and protect, prevent from cyber threats. We still have to go back to the old listing to help us, to comprehend the context and also make decisions. Thank you.
All right, let's go on a short break now. When we return, our conversation on cybersecurity will continue. Stay with us.
Done to ensure that this is done?
One of the factors being identified by our key persons is the issue of transportation. For you to have a sustainable city, you must have a deliberate attempt to have a master plan.
This is Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Thank you for being there. We're still talking about cybersecurity on Early Exchange this morning. And earlier we had Felix Iziomo, who is the founder, executive director, International Center for Leadership Development in Nigeria. He'll be joining us again. So, okay, he's here. So we'll just continue the conversation because it's very important, whether you are an individual or you are a business owner. This is something that is very critical because you do a lot of things online. You have your information on the internet. You do not want unauthorized access to your data. Thank you, Felix Iziomo, for staying with us on the show. All right. There are threats for data or threats to data. Then companies would need people, would need software to block this threat or to take care of this threat. How much of opportunities does it open up for the cybersecurity experts? I know these days a lot of persons are going into ethical hacking. Are there other fields it has opened up?
Well, there are a lot of fields that are opening up, that are coming up. Yeah, a lot of them, if you go online, you see new one. Like I was sharing with my friend who wrote a book on career in technologies, career in technologies. A lot of them, data analysts is one of the key role now that people are venturing into, data analysts, and then software managers, security analysts, various. There are so many of them that people can venture into to help secure the cyber world, So these are some of the trend now when it comes to jobs or roles people can take.
Now let's look at this issue of removing viruses from computer or computer network. You see people deploying, different software, programs here and there. How do you know the right software to deploy when it comes to antiviruses?
Okay, of course, the right softwares are those ones that that yes, that are how will I say, that are not pirated, that are official. You can go get it, and they are very expensive. But some of us or some businesses, because of they cannot afford, maybe small businesses, they cannot afford this right authentic softwares, so they go to buy the pirated one or the cracked one. So this will not help. So most of us, even as individuals, we look for the cracked one and then we put it out there, or the free version, the trial version. Then at the end, when it expires, what next? You have to download trial version again, because why? We cannot afford the main antivirus. So we have to look at the authentic antivirus. There are authentic antivirus that are there. When you buy them, you see the seal there. You know that, yeah, this is the authentic software, virus software, that antivirus that you need. So you have to go for the best, for the not the fake or the pirated softwares.
Okay. On that too, there are some thoughts that the kind of antivirus you get can even open you up more to attacks. Is this true, particularly with the free versions, the cracked versions of antivirus?
There are some that, well, I will not say weak, because antivirus is antivirus, but you cannot rely on these antiviruses. You cannot rely on them. So you have to also look for ways to improve on your security. When you rely on this antivirus, you feel okay, because these attackers are very smart. These attackers are very smart. They know. And if you have, there are some antivirus that you put that it will tell you, oh, you have an attacker. You have been attacked. You have been this. They give you updates. They give you an alert for you to be aware and then take action immediately. But there are some, I don't know, because of course there are free versions. They will not be strong enough because you did not pay for it. So the antivirus company, they want you to upgrade because you have the free version, and the free version has limits to what they can perform. So when you don't upgrade, they start sending you message. Okay, this is, you are being attacked. Why not upgrade? And of course, because you don't have money or you don't want to upgrade, and then you face this. So, but when you upgrade and then they start giving you this information, and then that is where you will now improve on how to dictate and how to stop this attack from happening. So there are so many antivirals that are good, that will alert you, that will give you information for you to take proper action towards that. But, you know, the free version will not do everything for you. So you are still prone to that attack.
From your experience, I would like you to talk about some of the loopholes, you know, especially on the social media space or on the internet, that hackers take advantage of to fleece people or to perpetrate their acts. Some of these loopholes, I would like you to talk to us and then educate us on it so that at least people can take caution.
Well, there are a lot of loopholes, especially like you mentioned on social media. You know, we are in the social media world. Different social media hubs is coming, and we are also going into social media. We have different social media platforms, different social media networks. And the loopholes are, you know, sometimes we don't know what is coming. Like I said, the phishing attack. You know, you have a link, they send you a link, and then you click. Before you know, you have been hacked, or probably you have been pwned, and then you before you know it, whatever information you are doing on your mobile device, everything is being going. And even on your system now, that's what we call keylogger, where you just click on and then they take it. Before you know, whatever information you are inserting on your system, they are taking all this information, they are watching you. So a lot of attacks coming in now in social media in various ways. These attackers are very smart. They are coming with different means to see how they can, different ways to attack. So we have to be very careful whatever we do online with our devices. Whatever we do, we have to be very careful. Not everything you receive, even if you receive a message that is too good to be true, you have to ask questions. You have to find out. Sometimes you see a friend will send you a message. A friend will send you a message, and it's not the friend, it's an attacker who is pretending to be your friend, and then sending you a message. You have to, when you get such message, you have to verify. Call the person, ask, I got this message from you. Maybe I don't know if it's you. Then the person, oh no, I'm not the one. So you have to be very, very proactive. You know, you see a message that is too good to be true, you have to be very careful. Somebody asks you to send your personal information, private information. You have to be very careful with that by sending them. You know, we are in a world where attackers are always proactive. They are always proactive. Early this year, I read an article which says 2023 will even be more for the attackers. They will even attack more. So as we are using the internet, we should also be proactive. We should find a way to protect ourselves online. Especially the social media now, where everybody now is trying to, and you know, of course, people are making money on this social media platform now, and this is where the attackers will now start becoming more proactive, because they know people want to gain followers, people want to use social media to, you know, get more money. So this is where the attackers will attack from. So we have to be very careful. And when you find something that is too good to be true, ask questions. Don't click on any link. You have to verify and check. If you see a source coming from, check the source. Make sure you see that the source is protected. You know, the key lock, that padlock is protected. You know, sometimes when you see the HTTPS, hypertext transfer protocol with the secure X, you know this is secure. But when you see the one that is not X, that is not secure, copy the link, go to a browser, click it, and then paste it there, and then click, and then you will see what information that is there. You know, different ways, the attackers use different ways to see how they can get you in. So you should be very careful. Thank you.
What can a business do in the face of cyber attack? You talked earlier about when we were talking about workers who have been privileged to some information. When they leave, the company can alert its customers. But every company wants to maintain a good cybersecurity posture before its clients. What can the business do in that situation to minimize damage or losses?
Well, you know, like I said earlier, some of the businesses, they are still losing, but they will not say it. They will not say it. So what they can do now is, apart from the ex-employees, They also have what we call the password information, the password thing to help them, and then endpoint protection. Activate security awareness training. I mentioned that security awareness training. Employees should report phishing emails, and admins to admins. At least the company, they have their admins. So this admin will be very, very active, for any information that that comes his way. It will alert the employees for that, so that they will help the business to protect information. So that's effective cloud backup solution will also help. Effective cloud backup solution will also help the business, so in case of anything wants to happen, of course, they have the backup. Thank you.
All right, with that submission, we need to wrap up this conversation now. We want to thank you very much for sharing your thought with us on Early Exchange this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's take a breather, and when we return, we'll have more discussion related to cyber attacks in Nigeria and the ICT sector. Stay with us.
Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade, and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an Armed Forces Remembrance Cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo Masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota Market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale, is exchanged daily. Idumota Market, Souk Enlightenment.
Giving a directive, what should be done to ensure that this is done?
One of the factors being identified by our key persons is the issue of transportation. For you to have a sustainable city, you must have a deliberate attempt to have a master plan.
This is Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Many thanks for staying with us on Early Exchange. The discussion continues on cybersecurity, and we have Oluseyi Akindende, who is the founder, Hyperspace Technologies. It's been a while. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you again. Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm always happy to be here.
Great. And we too are happy to host you. All right, we'll be talking about cybersecurity, and we've talked extensively about it, but there's one challenge for individuals having to create a strong password. And for different platforms that you're on, different things that you have to do, having different passwords. And the last guest just told us it's not advisable to have your date of birth as your password because that can be guessed, and so it's easy to compromise. But how do you commit to memory the different characters, different things that you create into the password? You go on this platform, you have this password, that password. What can people do actually?
Well, you've touched on a very critical point in cybersecurity, and thank God we have the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, this whole month in, sensitizing people. To be honest with you, there really isn't a foolproof way of, doing that. You have to come up with some kind of methodology to remember. So for instance, if you want to create a password for a certain platform, let's say platform A, so maybe you include, so you probably say, oh, the first two letters of that platform, then the password, then, characters that you use. The problem with the internet is actually what you have touched upon. There is no way by which you can gain access to any platform without having to remember a password. So you have to sort of, it's almost like, what I do, to be honest with you, in order to counteract this thing, is just to use my local language, my local tongue, because I know that it would never be in a dictionary. It would never be in any, so I'll just use it in a local tongue, mix it with a few numbers here and there, and then, have a special, one or two special characters that start and end it. So it becomes a bit more difficult. So if you have a methodology for it, so you just, and then, what we've also seen is that a lot of people, because of that problem, they tend to use the same password across board. Now, one thing you can do is applications like LastPass. Now, LastPass allows you to have different passwords to different applications, but you have one password that that allows you to unlock that LastPass. So it's like a container for passwords. So when you have the app, it can be on your mobile phone. So say you have a password to platform A, platform B, you store them there. Then you now have one major password to secure the LastPass, such that when you want to log in, it just tells you, it just prompts you to, enter your LastPass password, and then it will automatically take the password for the platform you want to log into. So that's how you can. So there are all sorts of apps like LastPass and all those kinds of apps that you can use to remember the password. So all you have to remember is just that one singular password for the LastPass password. Then that would take care of the rest. So that's some of the other strategies that people can use in order to remember a lot of passwords that they use.
Okay, let me quickly ask: isn't it the same thing? Because if someone is able to break through your LastPass password and sees the other password, doesn't it bring us back to the same thing?
True. But the thing is that person would now need to have access to, because of your mobile phone. And then remember that on your mobile phone, you have your biometrics, you have, other things. So what you have done is, in cybersecurity, it is almost 100% impossible to prevent attackers. But what you can do is you can limit their scope. You can limit their attack surface area. So by using that LastPass it's an app on your phone. You need to use your biometrics to unlock your phone. Then you now need to use biometrics again to unlock the app, and then a password to. So it means that for the person to actually,
there are different layers.
There are different layers. So what you're trying to do is just make it a bit more difficult for the person. So by just using it on your mobile phone is something you are, which is second factor of authentication. Now, I work in a company where we've seen that as a problem, and one of the things we've also done is it possible to log into apps without using passwords, like instead of having to use passwords now? Because if you think about the entire internet scope, it is based on something. So that's why you have identity theft. Somebody can, and the bad thing about digital assets or digital, when you log in digitally, is if I have my phone and somebody steals it, at least I know that it has been stolen, it's moved, so I can actually protect myself. But if somebody steals your password, there is no way in the world you're going to know. The person could jolly well log into your email and be checking your email, while at the same time you're also logging into it. So we've designed a system whereby you use your mobile phones together with some kind of card-based NFC technology to log into without having to remember a password. It's one of the problems we're actually addressing in our company. So we've seen it as a big problem, and we see that hackers thrive on. I was just behind, just before we came on, I was just showing you a picture of a very senior person in government who was being interviewed on TV like this, remotely, and he had his password pasted, on the wall, and that is a magnet for hackers. I'm sure by now so many hackers will be, if he has not lost his account, I really do not know, So another thing also is two-factor, three-factor, multi-factor authentication with your biometrics, with something you have, and all that. So those are some of the things that people can do, to safeguard these things as we go forward.
I hear more of ethical hacking, and then I would like you to educate us on that. At what point do you engage in ethical hacking, and what could be the impact? Ethical hacking is an industry that was brought about as a result of all the issues confounding the internet. And what are companies, I remember back in 2001, companies didn't want to move online because they were thinking, why would I move my servers online for people to connect? But unfortunately, if you don't move online, you don't get business. How is somebody outside the country going to see you? So it was an industry that that generally created itself and said, hang on, if we have hackers hacking into systems, breaking into computers, breaking into phones, why can't we leverage that skill? After all, they're doing it one way. So why can't we, get these people or train our people to learn exactly how they are breaking in? Because it usually takes a thief to know how to secure. So if somebody has used a loophole to get into, it's like the way police, foreign police people train. They actually train themselves in the art of, crime, so that when you can gauge. So it's a way for organizations to train their people to say, look, let's explore the ways hackers work. If we understand the way hackers work, then if I hack into an organization, I can better tell them to say, look, this was the methodology, or this was the way I got into your organization, and this is what you need to do to protect yourselves. I mean, when I was younger, they used to parade some people on screen when they use some kind of hanger to unlock cars, so the police will parade them and tell them to demonstrate how they were able to unlock it. What were they doing? They're trying to show the public that, okay, these are the people that are doing this, and this is the method they're using to go through this. So when you understand the method, you now know how to better protect yourself. So that is the whole issue of ethical hacking. It's actually hacking, but positive hacking, where you hack an organization and then you now write a report and to tell them that, look, this was what I did, this was what I did, this was what I did, and to protect yourself, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. So that is that industry about ethical hacking, and it is, I think, it's one of the best in cybersecurity industry. Is growing, and anybody can actually get into it because it's a new field that you can get into.
All right, in hacking or getting access to people's data, one of the things that people are doing now, they're moving where they store their data. This brings us now to cloud computing. What is cloud computing?
Good. Cloud computing is just a way for businesses and organizations to move their data from on-premise to remote sites. So instead of having to set up an infrastructure, before now, if you have to set up your own infrastructure, you have to set up your own servers, you have to set up your own network, you have to set up, just because you want to run a business, that's not your primary business. So imagine a studio like this now where you want to, you want to set up your own email, you want to set up your own, but now, cloud computing now says you don't have to bother about that. All you need to do is just buy a location on the internet, and then we will provide you with the servers, with the storage, with the network, with the infrastructure that you need. All you need to do is, and by the way, we all use cloud computing every day, whether we like it or not. If you're on social media, you're using cloud computing. As we are here, if you're streaming on YouTube, that's cloud computing. Imagine if you had to set up the infrastructure of YouTube that you're using to, now you don't, all you need to do is connect the cameras and you stream. Back in the day, you'd actually have to set up the servers, you have to set up the infrastructure, you have to set up the software that will power the streaming, you'd have to set up the internet, servers, you have to set up even the analytics, So right now with cloud computing, all you need to do is just run your show, and the cloud computing takes over. That's what cloud computing is.
Talk to us about the level of adoption in Nigeria. What has been the attitude towards cloud, computing, and then how expensive it is to put together the infrastructure needed for this service?
Okay, at the beginning, people didn't understand what cloud computing and cloud infrastructure was. They thought, oh, it's about moving my entire data and everybody can see it and all that. No. Cloud computing has come to solve a business problem. And what is that business problem? Now, like I said, if you were going to do all this at the beginning, you'll be looking at it's a difference between capital expenditure and operational expenditure. That's capex and opex. Before, you would have to invest the major chunk of your budget into infrastructure that has nothing. You're not an infrastructure provider, you are like a service provider. So you want the service. It's the difference between someone who decides to build a house from scratch and someone who just decides to say, look, a house has already been built, I can just, buy a house or, rent a place instead of having to build. It's faster. Number two, you talked about cost. It brings down the cost of running a business considerably, especially because you do not have to invest any capex. The way it works is you pay as you go. It's like the way we use mobile phones. You pay for what you use. You pay for the infrastructure. You pay for the server. You pay for the amount of bandwidth, the amount of data that you consume. So it has brought down the cost considerably, and it's also enabling more businesses to start up. That's why we have the proliferation of startups, because it's very easy for me to think up an idea, which I've just told you. I'm just saying, okay, I want to create an e-commerce site, for instance, for my local, maybe an e-commerce site for vulcanizers, for somebody who is looking for vulcanizers or nannies. I can easily go online. It's very, very cheap. Like you said, if I was going to start that business with an on-premise infrastructure, I'm probably looking at $2,000, $3,000 US. But now, with just about less than $100, you can consummate an idea and then do rapid prototyping, and whether that idea will work or not. And if it doesn't work, all you just lost is $100. Unlike if you're going to start afresh, you have to buy the servers, you have to go and get fast internet access and the software. Then not to talk about the people that you have to build all this infrastructure and pay them, and you haven't started business. So that is the advantage of cloud computing. It enables businesses, and that's one of the things I see, that if you look at the 31-page blueprint by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, he came up with a 5-step blueprint. Number 1 talks about knowledge. Number 2 talks about infrastructure. Number 2 is actually policy. Number 3 is infrastructure. Number 4 is entrepreneurship and capital and innovation, and number 5 is trade. So those are, if you look at it, you see that infrastructure is a big part of it, and that infrastructure is that cloud computing that it enables you to do. So there are companies that have set up that baseline. All you have to do is just come, have an idea, build your software, connect to it, and you start your business. If it works, good for you. If it don't, then you can scale. It allows you to actually scale as well. You can move, if you bought maybe 10 gig before and you see that you're having customers, they're connecting to it, you can, improve on it. So it actually helps you manage your startup capital, very well.
We're in the days of machine learning and AI. So how does cloud computing enable the implementation of this?
Cloud computing, without cloud computing, I don't even think we would have the AI that we all are using now. Now, if you've used one of the major language models we're using right now is ChatGPT that everybody is using. But if you see ChatGPT, you see that it's on version 3.5 and 4. Guess what? There was version 1, there was version 2, and there was version 3. People didn't really use them because the infrastructure to train those language models didn't really exist at that time, or it didn't exist at scale. But with the new infrastructure, so it's easy for a company like OpenAI to say, we want to build one of the best language models in the world. You need infrastructure to do that. You need cloud computing. You can't train if you know how training an AI model works. What they do is, for instance, now, if I want to train an AI model to recognize, anything, I have to go and take huge data sets of that thing. So I want to train it to recognize human beings. So I have to take 1 billion pictures of human beings, put it in, use it as a training data in an algorithm that will say, every time you see this is a human. So it's going to actually train the features. You are not going to train that on one computer. You're not going to train that on 2 computers. You need a whole set of infrastructure to do that. And this infrastructure, they're very expensive. So cloud computing has enabled, all those things for us. So we are able to better get better AI models. And it's going to be like that, for a while. So cloud computing ties directly into, without it, I doubt we would have the kind of AI models. Not to talk of the kind of AIs that we see abroad, self-driving cars, for instance. Where you sit in a car without a driver. How is the car driving? So they've taken all the maps of all the different roads, the different intersections, the different roundabouts, and imputed them into an algorithm and train. And they keep retraining and retraining. And the car still has to communicate, through the internet to these cloud servers, and then get feedback and then also report back. It's playing a very major role in artificial intelligence and machine learning.
All right, let's look at the services, the career opportunities or opportunities for empowerment inherent in cloud computing. People like you are living on that. Then how profitable it is to take it as a venture or career?
It is. Look, I tell even the policy makers, that when we make policies, we shouldn't make policies for ourselves. There's a tendency for us to think that, we're opening up infrastructure, hackers. Yes, there's cybersecurity, but obviously there are policies to take care of that. You won't say because planes crash, then you don't fly planes, So the same thing, the opportunities are immense. In fact, I tell people that, look, if you have young ones, younger brothers, cousins, the future is technology. It doesn't even matter what course you're reading. It could be law, it could be anything, it could even be drama and art. People are infusing technology into these professions. It is very profitable. It's new, and you see every time as part of, if you look at the 4th industrial revolution, what is the makeup? You have AI and machine learning. You have Internet of Things. You have blockchain technology. You have coding. You have a lot of, and everything is software defined. Everything is, network based. So it's very profitable, but you need the knowledge. You need the understanding. You are not just going to come in and say, everybody's making money in technology, then, it must. No. You need to have, a blueprint. And then you need to actually be solving a problem. You need to be solving, especially a local problem that exists. Not just that you come in and you think, I can get. That's why a lot of people get frustrated when you think, this person is making money in IT. This person is making money in software. Why do you need knowledge? You actually need. It's a field where you can't. There are no laggards. You just have to. Understand what you're doing and then provide solutions to people's problems. And it's the only field where if you actually provide the solution, people will pay good money to you. So it's very profitable.
How, when it comes to skill acquisition, how long will it take for you to acquire the necessary skills and for you to claim you're an expert when it comes to cloud computing?
The truth is, sometimes, depending on the field, it may not take very long for you to actually acquire the fundamental skill, the base knowledge. But it takes experience for you to become an expert in that thing. And you can only become an expert if you work on, you
must have solved problems.
Yes, if you solve problems. So what I tell people to do is, once you have the base knowledge, say you do not have any tech experience, you can actually learn these things on YouTube, on Google, So if you've taken a field and you've seen that you want to, say you want to build something that you think is going to be of use, go and learn, so if it's software, go and learn a programming language, go and learn how that technology will, go and learn full stack development, go and learn back end, front end, the operating system, so that you understand how it works. That might take you 3 to 6 months of daily study. So you put in maybe 4 or 5 hours a day, and then you practice, you do projects, you engage in these things. Then you find a place to do an internship. It doesn't matter if you're 10 years or 50 years, find a place, because when you now do the internship, it now exposes you to other aspects that you may not, because in problem solving, there's some things that it's just like going to school. There's some things that you see and they take for granted as assumption in school. But when you get onto the field, you find out that some of those things you actually have to solve before. It's like when Henry Ford was going to create, electric vehicles. It didn't exist. Roads didn't exist. People could not conceptualize, but he had the idea. So first of all, you have to build the roads because you want to what? Manufacture cars. So that's the same way with technology. You actually have to build that, pavement. You have to build the road. Then you now have to learn the technology before you now bring your own solution to bear. So it takes a lot. But if you are dedicated, if you're if you're steadfast in it, if you don't just give up, because technology, as easy as it looks, even building a website, it looks easy. I can put it together now. It's when you start to do it, you start having issues about even scaling. Okay, you can build a website where 10 people can log in, but how about 100 people start to log in and the server starts to crash? What do you do? How do you? So those are the things that, so when you get you do an internship for maybe 6 months to a year, you learn the ropes, then you can now start to look at how you can create something that other people would use. So all in all, if you say about a year, about a year to a year and a half, you will actually become very good at that thing. And then as you walk towards it, you start to make the mistakes, you correct them, you learn more, you become phenomenal.
All right, so how can businesses have some form of integration with cloud computing and already existing systems and other kinds of technology?
Okay, so what businesses are doing is critical services that they run, they host it on premise. So they host critical. So for instance, now this is a TV studio. So you have staff. So there are some critical services that you do not want to put in the cloud. Maybe you have an accounting software that you use locally to process funds and all that. You can decide to say, okay, let's put that on our network so that people can access it, or you have an HR application. Now, but all other services that are not so critical, or maybe that are critical but you can outsource, because cloud computing comes with a lot of other things that you may not, for instance, we talked about cybersecurity at the end. Cloud computing gives you, cybersecurity, secure the server. So when there are new updates, when there are new patches, you don't bother yourself with running updates and patches and antivirus. They do it for you because you have actually paid for it. But imagine if you have to update patches. So if you're a studio and you're running 10 servers and you have to update antiviruses almost on a regular basis, that means you probably need a system administrator or a network administrator. That's more to your bottom line. But if you outsource this and at maybe $30, $40, $50 a month, you get all that bundled in. They manage your data for you. They manage the infrastructure. They manage the security. They manage everything. So eventually, most organizations are going to actually migrate to the cloud because it just makes a lot of better sense. We are not even looking at the hardware cost for you to run your infrastructure local. You have to buy the servers. You have to buy you have to provide 24 hours internet access, and we know how these things can be around here. So that's the reason why it makes a lot of sense to actually get onto the cloud. So that's how they're integrating, for now. They're just running, some servers locally and some in the cloud. But eventually, everybody's going to get to the cloud.
There are two sides to a coin. As much as this sounds good, what are the hazards or challenges? You talked about maintaining, having access to internet for 24 hours. So what are the challenges or the prices to pay when it comes to cloud computing?
One of the problems is data residency. The National Data Protection Regulation will say, look, if you're going to use cloud, the data protection and privacy, you have to make sure that it is secure. Where is that data sitting? If you're using, say, all these foreign cloud providers, maybe Google, Amazon, it means that if somebody wants to access your data, if I'm in Nigeria, I'll first go to America before I come to your server. That no, can we have the data, local data reside locally? So one of the things that they're pressuring some of these foreign people to do is to host some of these data within, the country. And then, of course, we have the local providers as well. You can actually host, you can actually put your data in those data centers as well. So there are a lot of local data centers that are coming up that do cloud, that you can actually host your data, you can reside your data in. So those are some of the challenges, and typically around regulation, But if you look at it technically, it just makes a lot of sense to host the data. And then secondly, you are outsourcing that risk. So in the event of a breach, you would have signed an agreement with those providers, and then they will give you uptime. They will give you, they have business continuity, things like disaster recovery. So a lot of those things, it's a bit like, you're outsourcing that risk. You are de-risking, yourself from, because at the end of the day, they would now face, they pay fine or whatever it is, yes, there are, those disadvantages, but in my mind, the advantages far outweigh especially when it comes to costs. That's the because no matter how you look at it, you have to balance, everything. You have to balance the cost with, if I'm going to run my server and it's going to cost me $1,000, but I'm going to be paying $30 or $50 a month to this thing. Yes, I have this risk, but I'm balancing it, and I'm sure that I'll get more value for this thing. So I think on the long run, everybody's going to embrace cloud computing.
All right, we're not done talking about cloud computing. We continue after this break. Stay tuned.
So I've codified the relationship between transformation and its component forces, being vision, team, time, resources, and resolve, in what I call the Austin's 5 forces model for transformation. Transformation depends on force number 1, vision. A great vision is imperative to a successful transformation journey. A great vision galvanizes the team and provides clarity. So if we take an example of Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, he was the one that turned Singapore, a third world country, into a sprawling metropolis that we see today. And he's saying that even the impossible can happen, encapsulate the strength of vision. Clear vision is a rallying point, and that brings us to the second force of transformation, which is the team. successful transformation depends on a team that is both strong in attitude as well as in aptitude. The team must act with pace and agility, and the team must display a sense of resourcefulness. The team must know the why of the vision, not just the what and the how. And if you look at an example of the Apollo program by NASA in the United States of America and the trip to the moon, there were about 400,000 people working on that project. But what typifies the team was the three people, Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin, and the resourcefulness and the agility that they brought to the project. That's what we describe as a winning team. The third force of transformation is time. The whole effort of the Apollo project would have been futile if the Soviet Union had gotten to the moon before the Apollo project could make it. So time is one of the critical constraints in terms of the transformation project, but timeliness as well, because we must be sure that the ideas' time has come. There were many ideas that fell short at launch because it was just not the time for it. Netflix has proved the point. Amazon has proved the point. The fourth force in the transformation journey will be resources. And whilst resources are not infinite, we have to provide resources in the right measure to prosecute the vision. So the Apollo project was achieved by spending over 25.4 billion in those days' money, which is an equivalent of about 152 billion of today's money. And whilst that is quite humongous, it matches the size and ambition of the vision. And whilst resources are not infinite, the team has to complement resources with resourcefulness, doing more with less. And the last force, probably the most important, is resolve. Resolve is the will to win. Resolve it is that made Thomas Edison discover the electric light bulb after 6,000 failed attempts. And it is resolve that made an obscure team like Leicester City in the English Premiership League win the 215-216 league title, despite the fact that they were recently promoted from the division below. The tenacity to win, the will not to give up, to go all the way. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this life going forward, in your transformation journey, see how you stack up against these five forces.
Does it stop at giving a directive? What should be done to ensure that this is done?
One of the factors being identified by our key persons is the issue of transportation. For you to have a sustainable city, you must have a deliberate attempt to have a master plan.
This is early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
If you don't remember anything from what Austin Okere has said from the tip he's given, you should remember to build tenacity, never to give up, regardless of what comes up against you. Just be creative to find a new solution to the new challenge. All right, we're still talking about cloud computing, and Oluseyi Akindoyinde is still very much in the studio in flesh and blood.
Thank you.
Okay, before we went on the break, we were talking about some of the challenges to cloud computing, and you mentioned one of them as data residency. Now, you gave an example, like you trying to connect first to the US before doing your connection and having what you want to do on the cloud. Do we have local providers? If we do, how much of patronage do they enjoy?
Yes, we do have a lot of local providers, and there are a lot of people actually using them because, first of all, they're a lot cheaper, and then they are a lot closer to, you know, to your customers. So remember I said that if you're using any of these global providers, that's why even if you use some of these global providers, they try to connect you to servers that are closer to the country. And you see, because of the lack of, you know, adequate infrastructure we have here, even the global providers want to come, but sometimes they are held back because of some of these infrastructural challenge, like, you know, electricity and all that, and providing 24 hours power. So we have local providers, you know, providing these services. We have Galaxy Backbone. We have, you know, all these, you know, that's government owned. That's actually where all government infrastructure is held. The servers are co-located. So we have them, and they're enjoying, you know, good patronage as well, you know, because obviously people, and then the ease of, you know, payments, you know, like some of the global providers, you have to be paying in foreign currency and all that. But with the local providers, you know, we have them as well. And then, of course, it also reduces, you know, on the internet, you have what is called latency. So it makes access faster. It's easy for me to access a server that is closer to home than having to go to, you know, a remote country and then back into the country. So there are a lot of them, you know, all over the place, you know, but they just need a bit more visibility, you know, and all that. So I reckon that, you know, we have a lot of them, you know, providing these services.
Let's look at some of the strategies you put in place to ensure that your cloud computing is not being compromised or being hacked, or you maintain what we'll call your data privacy.
Yes, a lot of them. That's actually what you sign up for. Like, you know, you have signing up for the security, and because that's what they do, that's their, you know, they have a subject matter, you know, expertise in that, so they're used to it, you know, securing the servers, securing the infrastructure, securing the storage, you know. So when you host with them, when you pay for their service, you are buying the entire, you know, raft of it. So they have things like, you know, backup and, you know, recovery. They have things like business continuity, disaster recovery, forensic investigation if there is in the event of a breach. So they have a lot of these things, you know, packaged into the service agreement that you're going to sign with them. And then obviously they have, you know, the 99.99% uptime, you know, that they guarantee for your service. So they, you know, pretty much, which is why I said at the beginning that ultimately, you know, because if you're running a business, a typical small business, a typical average business doesn't want to involve themselves in running, which is why we always have breaches anyway, because if you, even as an individual, you open your laptop, every time it's prompting you to run an antivirus, you close it, you open it. At some point, you're just going to get tired, you know, because that's not your main job. You just want to do your work and get over with. That's the same thing. So at the end of the day, businesses are going to move to cloud because they've just taken care of all that. You don't have to bother yourself. You just fire and forget, and it runs itself, and it's a lot more secure.
So with this, what does it mean for some other businesses, like the hardware manufacturers, those who set up the physical infrastructure, those who provide the antiviruses? What would it mean for their business in the long run?
Well, they would have to move into software. They would have to move into other services, because the hardware now is they'll still have the business, but they are now supplying more of these, you know, data centers. So a lot of data centers are actually buying this hardware. In fact, there are some data centers where you can physically buy your hardware yourself as an organization and co-locate it on their, you know, platform, you know, in their own data center. So you say, well, I have my server. I don't want to put it in my office, but I want to. So they're still doing that. So you co-locate as opposed to using the entire infrastructure of the. So because cloud computing is made up of infrastructure as a service, where you actually use their infrastructure. You have platform as a service, where they provide you with a platform where, you know, could be a software platform, it could be any kind of platform where you run whatever. Like for instance, YouTube is a typical platform for video streaming. You know, there are others for, if you want to, like Zoom for instance. Now you may want to have a Zoom platform where if you're a heavy Zoom user, they can give you that. Then you now have software as a service, you know, where you give them your own infrastructure, but you say, well, I want to just use, you know, the software. So there are more opportunities for those people to now move into either IaaS, that's infrastructure as a service, software as a service, or platform as a service.
All right, let me draw your attention to this report by Microsoft that says over 1.1 billion IoT connections are expected in the Middle East and Africa by giving cyber criminals more opportunities to breach an organization's network.
IoTs, the holy grail. Now, IoTs are a bit new and people still really do not understand them. It just means that things are now getting connected to the internet. Things that would ordinarily not be connected to the internet, like say, for instance, your fridge or the street light or, you know, the traffic, this thing on the street. Now, yes, it is. Every time you connect something to the internet, you're just opening up a lot more attack surface. There's a lot more for the hacker to aim at. So you see that there's something called SCADA in cybersecurity. Is supervisory control and data acquisition. These are devices that manage things like, you know, the water system, the electricity system, the traffic system. Imagine if somebody broke into, you know, that and stopped, you know, just broke into. Imagine if somebody you know, accesses the electricity system and then flips a switch and everything goes off and people are wondering what's going on. Those are the kinds of things that we'll start to have. You're now having, so you can break into one transformer and then you switch off the electrical grid of a state and people are wondering what is going on. So those are the challenges that we're going to have. But at the end of the day, we need to have policies. Remember, I said the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy came. He number 2 after knowledge is policy. We need to create adequate policies, and then our cyber crime laws need to be more. They need to treat it like real crime, like, you know, the way you treat physical crime. You know, we still, yes, now we have the Electronic Act where, you know, now they are you can now take electronic evidence and it's admissible in court now. Yeah. We now need to take a more proactive approach where people know that if you do these things, it's equivalent to you stealing, just you know, and they will take. We just need probably 1 or 2 scapegoats, you know, where you put someone in jail for cybercrime and everybody will wake up to, wow, okay, this is becoming real here. So those are some of the things that we need so that we can better, you know, apply these technologies and move our nation forward.
All right, let's move to 5G technology. Now, 5G technology is new. It used to be at one point it was 2G, moved to 3G, 4G, and then 5G. So it's going to be faster internet, which I suppose will take care of the internet downtime and ensure more stability. But what kinds of applications will need 5G more, and what benefits will it bring to businesses generally?
The first application that will benefit from 5G is video. Now, if you look at the internet traffic, almost 80 to 90% of internet traffic right now is video, whether it is on social media or, you know, on even corporate use. Most people now, especially since the advent of COVID, where people now decide to work from home, you can have your meetings over Zoom, over the internet, over, you know, all these platforms. The first benefit of it will be video. So that means that we can more, like this kind of interview could be done not just via Zoom, via like a real, you know, even things like AR and VR, like, you know, you wearing the headset and you would actually have, you know, real-time communication without, you know, those latency, those lag, and you can position me just as I'm sitting here, you know. Those are some of the applications. Video, then like I said again, AR, that's augmented reality, and virtual reality will also become very big because you can then start to use them for education. I can be in my house and be schooling, you know, anywhere in the world, and it will look like I'm in class. I can see, what's being done. I can have more practical applications, like that. So a lot of those applications will come in, and obviously the traditional ones, data, voice, would also, make a lot of sense with the traffic. And then even things like, remember during election, when you're trying to upload, through Beavers, and the thing was failing, it was not connecting. That's because we do not have adequate internet infrastructure. So when you have that kind of adequate infrastructure, as soon as you're voting, you are uploading to the server, everybody is having access to it. Those are some of the benefits we're going to have, with 5G, but it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of investment, it's going to take a lot of infrastructure to penetrate, those hitherto areas that are not currently being served.
What are the differences between 5G, and then the earliest form of mobile network, 1, 2G? Is it all about speed?
It's about, yes.
It's just about speed.
It's about speed. It's about speed, and it's about reach. It's about throughput. You will find out that with 5G, it becomes almost instantaneous. Right now with 4G, you have latency. So an easy way to look at it is if you go to a website, when you're on 4G, 3G, when you click on it, you have to wait a bit for the, for the homepage to load, for the news to load, for the, that is a function. It's not the function of the server or the bandwidth. It's a function of your own internet connection. But if you have 5G, it's almost instantaneous. It's almost like, the way, like imagine if you're streaming this now, you need fast internet. So as you're streaming it, because streaming takes two things, you upload, and then the person watching is downloading. So if the speed is really fast, it's almost like you don't have any kind of latency. So that's the speed. It's very, very fast. But at the end of the day too, you also need devices and networks. So there are some 5G providers, but if you are using a phone that cannot speak 5G, it's going to downgrade you to 4G. So you actually need the infrastructure, then you need the end devices to actually take advantage of the speed as well. So primarily, it is speed. No matter how you look at it, it is speed.
You just touched on something. I would like you to educate us on that. If I need to upgrade my, mobile device, do I need a particular software to upgrade from either from 3G to 5? And then what should be done to ensure that you're able to access 5G, even if that's not the way the mobile devices is being built?
Yes, you don't need software. You need the platform, because when these manufacturers manufacture, they are manufactured to specification. So at the time they manufacture, so if you are using a 3-4-year-old phone, there was no 5G. So at that point, the maximum you'd be able to use will be 4G. And remember that they have specs as well. So most of it is from the OEM. So for you to take advantage of 5G, you need to buy the modern, equivalent. It's like wireless computing, for instance. There was a time when for you to connect to a network, you need to use cables and plug to a network. Your computer didn't come with a wireless adapter. But as time went on and we started having these wireless access points, computers started having, wireless infrastructure built into them. It's the same thing with 5G. So you need a device that can speak, 5G. That's all you need. Yes.
So needing a device that can speak 5G, does it also mean that it's going to cost more for data when you're using 5G or you're running on 5G? What will be the cost implication?
It's going to cost a lot more, and you're going to consume a lot more data. Right now, I know that if you want to get the 5G equipment here, you need to be looking at around 50,000 to get the box itself. That's the CPE, that's the customer premises equipment. Then depending on the amount of data you want to consume every month, you'll be looking at typically another maybe 40 to 50,000 in subscription every month. And then so look at it as maybe over a year, maybe you're talking about 600K in subscription. So unless you have to be doing something, maybe you're a content provider, or maybe you are someone who is a heavy internet user and it powers your business, then otherwise you may not be able to just, because when a new piece of technology comes in, it's usually expensive at the beginning, but over time, just like with our SIM cards, when it came out, it was very expensive, but over time, as more people were coming in, fact, at some point, SIM cards were even free, so it would drastically reduce it because it's economies of scale. As more people come in, it starts to bring down the price. So that's what would happen eventually, but for now, it's still a bit, pricey for a lot of average people.
Now let's look at the issue of policy and then commercializing 5G tech. How far has Nigeria gone in these areas?
The infrastructure has been built, at least by a few of the telcos, but it's only when you've eaten breakfast, lunch and dinner that you would have to start thinking of 5G and all that. So the people that are still consuming it are more business type people that have their 9 to 5. It hasn't really permeated. People are still, and then like I said, you still have to upgrade your phone. You still have to upgrade your devices. How many people even have they're still using some of their old devices? So it's still new, it's still penetrating, but it's a technology that has come to stay. And like I said, over time, maybe in the next 1, 2, 3 years, it's going to improve a lot. The services will improve, the costs will reduce, and of course by that time more devices too will have come in and will reduce the price. So the adoption is gradual, but it will get there, just like the adoption of the internet. So we see that the infrastructure is there, the service is there, but it's just that we need more people, to start to use it, and therefore the cost to come down, which will happen eventually.
All right. When the NCC was doing accreditation or giving the license for telecommunication operators to have 5G or to run on 5G, just a few of them were able to meet that requirement at a time, and they did a supplementary licensing for some other ones. So looking at the way it is now, not every telecommunication operator in Nigeria would run on 5G. So looking at the competitiveness it will provide for both the operators and the businesses, how's it going to look like?
You see, investing in infrastructure, in 5G infrastructure, is heavily capital intensive. So it's not something that even if you have the license just says that you can, one thing is to pay for the license, one thing is actually to roll out, and then you now need the skill, you need the equipment. Some of them could not meet up because of largely that it's just really, and then you also have to look at your return on investment. How long is it? It's easy for the incumbents because they already have, this user base, they already have customers, they already have people that are there, so they can easily project. But for a new entrant who is coming in, we first have to think of the amount of capital he's going to invest, how long the infrastructure is going to take to build out, the number of people that will work on the thing, and then before you now even start to talk about the business and the use case, and then you're now competing with people that are already there. It is huge. It's really, really, which is why the people that have actually rolled out are people that are already the companies that are the telcos that are incumbents. So that's, it's going to take a lot. But if an investor is patient, we have the numbers. Everybody says we have the numbers, but you have to be patient. It's not a 2-year, 3-year journey. It's something like 5, 6, 7, 10-year journey for you to actually recoup your investment. So if somebody is investing for the long term, it's an area to go into. Otherwise, you're better off becoming the normal wireless ISP, and then you do your business.
Okay, so would this open room for more foreign ISP to come in if the ones that we have here are not majorly running on 5G?
It will open up that channel for them, especially with ISPs that have capital and they're able to wait out the long term, and they want to invest, and they've seen that the market, and ultimately 5G is going to get there, but it's just a matter of who is going to get there, with the 5G. So it will open up that channel, but even they may not find it easy because of the incumbents that are already, the telco providers that are already in there. But it will open up the channel. They bring in their foreign capital, especially now with this, naira devaluation. It means that if they bring in more of their, they can get a lot more, and it's going to also help them, as well, because we have the numbers, we have the population. And remember that of our population, about 40% of us, are still, below the age of youth, between the ages of 18 to 45. So And as these people in 5 years' time, they're going to grow, they're going to get, they're going to start working, they're going to have, the economic power would increase more. So eventually, they'll be able to recoup their investments.
Let me ask you, if you're in position to make recommendations to the government on what can be done to attract investors, and then to ensure that 5G tech is affordable and commercialized, what are your recommendations, or what will be your recommendations?
First of all, I think the requirements sometimes are very, very strict. It takes, sometimes if you look at some of the requirements for you to even attempt to, obtain the license, almost, I can't even say there are a lot of companies that can do that locally. And secondly, even if you have the technical know-how, sourcing for the funds is also going to be hard. To access to loans and capital from local, financial institutions. I think they need to, bring the interest rate a bit down, because if I'm going to do that kind of thing and I'm going to be getting interest rate from bank at close to 25%, and I've not even invested, and then we're talking about the rate of inflation being double digit as well. We're talking about the devaluation of our currency. It's almost impossible for anybody to actually attempt that. So one of the things they should do is find a way to say, maybe have a concession for local investors to be able to partake in this, and maybe, talk to the financial institutions to say, look, if these people come, give them single digit, interest rate, then give them tax incentives as well, that, okay, we know that it's going to take you time to set up your infrastructure, it's going to take you time to build out this system. We would give you, maybe for the next 10 years, you roll out and we allow you, make money, and then maybe after the 10th year, you start to pay, taxes. So those are some of the things that, they can do. Just make the environment friendly, make it a lot more, business friendly and easy for people to, because there's so many people with these ideas, but, getting the idea to execution phase is usually the problem, just because of these government policies.
All right. Earlier on, you talked about AR, VR, and that's augmented reality, virtual reality. How is this transforming businesses now?
Wow. We are not feeling the effect here in this part of the world, because these AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality are expensive ventures, chiefly because you need the equipment. So for VR, for instance, you need that headset. One of the cheapest headsets is about $600, But if you have it, if you've used it before, you find out that it's transforming businesses a lot. For instance, you can do virtual training. You can actually be here. Not when I mean virtual training, not the kind of training you have on 2D surfaces like Zoom. Kind of training that you actually have, and it's immersive. Like, so you can actually, if you're an engineer, for instance, and you want to learn how to structure, you have to learn how to repair engines, you can wear the thing, and they take you right into the engine. It's virtual, and you are seeing it, and they will show you, this is the spark plug, this is the cylinder, and you actually can see and touch and so it's helping in that. Even things like games, sports, health, medicine, people, the doctors that are actually carrying out operations through VR and all that. And of course, AR as well is just, you don't need equipment. All you need to do is you can, for instance, people use AR for, say you've gone to a boutique and you want to buy a top and you don't know how it will fit. You can actually, when you go in, there's this VR glass, AR glass that you look at, and you can actually, you wear the top and you see the fitting without actually wearing it. So you see the fitting, so a lot of fashion houses are using that, to augment that. So you don't actually physically have to go to the store. If you go to some online stores now, if you don't know how the thing will look on you, they will give you the color, the thing, and you feel it, you see it, and you see how it looks on you, and it's easier to make purchasing decisions when you've seen how something will look on you. So it's actually helping in some of those areas. But over time, and then you also need, like we said, you need fast internet access for you to be able to access some of those things. So everything ties into one another.
Okay, we'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll discuss more on AR and VR. Stay with us. Julie.
this is done?
One of the factors being identified by our key persons is the issue of transportation. For you to have a sustainable city, you must have a deliberate attempt to have a master plan.
This is early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
It's still early exchange and the conversation is getting bigger and better. And we still have Sheyi here with us. He's been talking about, virtual reality and then everything that you need to know about it. Sheyi, glad to still have you here with us.
I'm excited to be here as well. It's always a pleasure.
All right, we were talking about virtual reality. VR and AR is becoming the rave of the moment. Talk to us. What are the services that this technology can be deployed into, and then what could be the impact?
There are a lot of industries that you can use AR and VR for. One of it is, okay, I'll give you a typical example of, say you're in Lagos, say you want to buy a property in Abuja, but you don't want to have to fly all the way to Abuja. You can have somebody, real estate broker there, walk you through the entire house you want to buy without you physically being there. And I'm not talking about you seeing pictures or videos. You actually have an immersive experience whereby, they can create some kind of VR experience and walk you through. So it looks like you're actually walking. In fact, as it is, I can even tell you that it looks like this studio as well uses some kind of VR, because you see, only that with this you probably need green screen and all that. But in a VR experience, you can make this studio become a space center. You can turn it into whatever you want to turn it into, and people watching would think we're actually broadcasting from space. So that's the same thing with VR, only that this time around you are actually a part of that. It's like 3D surround sound when you're watching a movie and you're seeing, you have those 3D glasses on, and then you start to hear the sound as if you are actually in the scene with the person himself. So you are, I call it the brain-body binary dynamic, because it's like, she said, when we all said that it's almost as if it does something to your brain. Yes, that's exactly the experience. So they give you an experience like you're there. One time I traveled and I've always wanted to learn how to fly, a fighter jet, but obviously I'm a civilian. Nobody's going to put me in a fighter jet. Now, I now went to this, this fighter jet company. They have a virtual and almost realistic experience whereby you sit on the fighter jet, you wear the VR headset, and they've done it in such a way that it's almost like you feel when, like for instance, when you're flying a plane and you get shot at, or you feel it. It's almost, sometimes it's unexplainable. Like she said, you can't really explain it to somebody who hasn't experienced it. So you can use it for education. There is a school taking students that have never left the country to places that they probably will never be in their lives, but it looks like they're there. So you can see, the Burj Al Arab, as if you were there. And all this is happening via VR. So you put it on and you are immersed. It looks like you are in the scene with that person, which is why over time, like I said at the beginning, this kind of interview would probably be I watched one interview between Oprah and Obama, and where they were actually far apart, but VR, just by, it looks like they were actually sitting next to themselves. So it has a lot of implications in manufacturing, in sports and entertainment, in real estate, in movie production. There is absolutely no field you cannot, use AR and VR for, especially virtual reality.
All right, this technology, whether AR or VR, thrives on providing experience to people, making it an almost real experience for people. But let's look at the availability of the expertise of the technology in our local environment. How much of it do we have available here? And the experts too?
Almost none at the moment. Why? Because for you to be an expert in something, you need the right sort of equipment. We don't have a VR. What we have, yes, we have, these headsets that people use, primarily for gaming, you know, just, you know, to play games and all that. But it goes beyond, you know, playing the games. It speaks to us being able to create that immersive experience for people. So we need like somebody to come up with like just like we have movie cinema theaters, we need to have a VR experience center where people can just go in, and people have created, say I want to travel to Bauchi or I want to go to Gombe and I've never been there. I should be able to go to a VR experience center, put it on, and I would actually walk through all the, you know, areas that I want to, and it will look like I'm there. I'll see the rocks, I'll see the rivers, I'll see the, you know, that's the level. So we need people to build the back end for these experiences. Nobody's going to come and build it for us. Do we have the skills? We can have the skills, but right now we don't have the skills. We don't have schools. And for you to have the skills, you need to have schools and training centers teaching people how to build these experiences for people to come and use. And for you to have the schools, you need people, you need the equipment, you need the servers, you need the internet infrastructure that will power, you know, these things. We don't have that yet. It's not permitted yet. But over time, I suppose it's going to get there, but we just have to, you know, wait. But for now, we're still more of consumers, you know, especially when it comes to using it for gaming and, you know, fighting battles on games and all that. And then there's also the issue of the metaverse. You know, I'm sure you about 2 years ago, Facebook changed the entire company name to Metaverse, which tells you that that's the future. Just a few days ago, they came up with these Ray-Ban glasses with cameras that allows you to just be, say for instance now, we all use Google Maps, you know, but how about if I'm in a building and I don't know the direction, you know, automatically I can see, it can walk me through the path, you know, without me I'll just plug where I'm going and it will show me the path, you know, that I'll take, go right, go left, and I'll be able to follow the path and so on. Those are the kind of things that, you know, they're already thinking about there. Then there's even the Apple Vision Pro that was launched. But these things are very expensive. If you're talking about, you know, $1 million just to buy, how many people can afford it in this part of the world? But those are the equipment that you need to be able to take advantage of these things globally.
I would like you to talk to us about the differences between augmented reality and virtual reality. At what point do you prefer one to the other or merge the two?
Well, the thing is that they both serve different purposes. It's not like you can't, it's not either or. You know, they have different purposes. Now, virtual reality came first. Virtual reality is full virtual, like you are immersed virtually. So you can be in a place virtually. There's nothing physical about it. You know, you don't have any, so you are transported into that. It's like a movie where you're watching a movie and it's virtual. It's not real life. That's why it's called virtual reality. That's why you can use it for a lot of, you can bring things to life inside that virtual world, you know, things that would not normally. So for instance, now I want to learn how to use this camera, you know, I want to learn how to plug it. I can take this camera, take it into the virtual reality and be able to couple it, you know, without tampering with the physical. Now, augmented reality is a way for us, it's a bit like this studio, for instance, now that we are in, you know. I know that I can see a green screen, but the audience are seeing something other than a green screen. So you have brought something that is virtual onto and superimposed it onto a physical where people are. And that's augmented reality. So you are creating a reality of a physical place. So that's why they always tell you that when you're on social media, don't believe everything you see, because I can have a room that is empty and decide to say, I have an app on my phone now. If I take a picture of this place, okay, I can superimpose something that is not on it onto that picture and it will look real, you know. So that's augmented reality. That's why they call it augmented. Like you are augmenting reality. So that affects the physical. Unlike virtual reality that is completely virtual, this one is augmented reality. And like I said, a studio like this is a typical example of what augmented reality is. What is real is different from what people, you know, are seeing. That's the difference. Then we now have a mixture of the two, which is called mixed reality, where you have augmented reality mixed with real. So you can take, for instance, this studio as it is into a virtual world and have an immersive. So for instance, let's say you want to you want to interview, you know, the president, but he's not going to be available. You can take the studio as we are now, we take it into a virtual world, and then you now put the president inside that virtual world and you interview him, and it looks, you know, real, and then you're immersed. That's what is called mixed reality. So there's augmented reality, there's virtual reality, and then there's mixed reality. All of them together, they're under the term called XR, extended reality, because you're just trying to extend, you know, it's just to create what is not out of thin air. That's what it is.
Okay, with this, a lot of innovations will come up, because while you were talking about someone can actually virtually be in a place, I'm looking at tourism, how people don't necessarily have to travel from one point to the other. They can just, from where they are, be traveling around the world virtually. But is there a downside to this? Are there negative effects that could come from this kinds of applications being used in businesses?
Oh yes, there are, in some cases there have been health concerns, because you know sometimes you have to wear this thing and you have to leave them on, you know, for a while. So some people can have some kind of, you know, health concerns. And then there are things like exhaustion sometimes, because when you're used to these things, it becomes very difficult for you to adapt to the real world. And some people have even said it, you know, affects them, you know, mentally. So it's supposed to be used with caution. It's a bit like every technology that comes in. Even when I was young, when we used to play video games, if you allow a child play video games every time, it's going to affect, you know, his psyche. The same thing with the internet. You can't put somebody on the internet, you know, 24 hours. It's going to affect, you know, the person, you know, in a negative way. The same thing with all this virtual reality. You can't be on and some, you know, there, like the metaverse, for instance. You see, the metaverse is as good as it's good, because some people are getting jobs in the metaverse. Like you have you know, broadcasters in the metaverse. You have people who have you know, restaurants, and then you can work as a chef virtually, but you have to be on every time. There are downsides to it, you know, as well. And then it's sometimes it could be time wasting, you know, it could be time wasting, it could be, you know, you could have unproductive, you know, time. So those are some of the downsides, you know, that we have with this technology. And as it's getting more infused, it's just going to get worse. We just need to manage, you know, how we approach this technology and make use of them.
From your experience, how easy it is to hire hands or skilled people, you know, that could be deployed in the management of this technology?
In this, it isn't very easy, because we don't have the training institutes, we don't have the schools churning out this, you know, even in traditional the tech fields, it's difficult for you to get, you know, someone who is, you know, who is coming out of a university or out of a tertiary institution, and you just take the person and plug the person, and the person starts to be productive immediately. But over time, as we use these technologies, as we infuse them in our daily activities, you know, we would have more people, we'd have more training institutes. So what we are saying is that I think the educational system, the computer science curriculum, the engineering curriculum needs to start infusing this, you know, technologies. But except maybe the private universities, the public ones, the federal ones do not have, you know, because these equipment are very, very expensive, and which also speaks to the fact that even the private sector need to also sort of come in as well. Part of the profits we are making, we need to start investing back into these, you know, institutes where our alma mater, to say, look, this is the future of technology. We're talking about artificial intelligence. We're talking about machine learning. We're talking about AR, VR, blockchain, cybersecurity. We need to start to build labs, you know, where people can. There's nothing stopping a company in Nigeria from making a locally made VR headset that will be cheap, you know, for the local environment, you know. But it's only when you know the technical know-how that you can build things like that. There's nothing stopping someone from building a virtual reality software back end that people can, you know, start to build on top like a platform, you know. But it's only when you have the know-how that you can do this. So some of these things that we need to do, we need to go back to the schools and, you know, start to engage the students from there, so that as soon as they are graduating, they get into the field.
Now, a while ago, you talked about people working virtually now, remote work. And in Nigeria, we have a lot of companies now asking their workers to do hybrid, some days on-site and some days remotely. So if virtual reality is to be fully embraced, how would this improve remote work?
Absolutely. In fact, it's going to probably even take out physical work, because if I can have a meeting like this without necessarily being there, all I need is the headset and a fast internet connection, maybe 5G that we've talked about. Then it simply means that you would think about how the internet enabled businesses. Anybody can have any idea right now, regardless of your background, and get onto the internet, and the entire world can see. The same thing is going to happen with VR. So you can actually, people can be in their homes and be studying abroad. People can be anywhere. You can basically create a movie with people living, in disparate. So you don't have to physically get them. Think about things like entertainment. Say I'm an artist and I want to collaborate with a foreign artist who necessarily doesn't want to fly down here. We can actually do a virtual, a kind of augmented reality where you place him side by side with me, and it looks like we're in the same studio, and we actually have that collaboration. Those are some of the things that you can do. You can have virtual meetings. So it's going to help a lot in bringing people together. It's going to help a lot but the downside obviously is that maybe we are all going to become antisocial, because if everything you are doing is virtual, you want to go to parties virtual, you can attend the party virtually, then what's going to happen to the physical human contact that human beings need? That's why during COVID we had some people went almost mental, because there wasn't that humans exist to have contact. So that will probably be another downside to some of these things, but it's going to help a lot in businesses. It's going to help a lot in especially as regards cost. Like you don't have to spend so much on transportation. Once you have the equipment, you can basically be anywhere you want to be.
For an investor who is thinking, how do I take advantage of the Nigerian space to make money from AR and VR? What are the opportunities? The
opportunities are immense. First and foremost, invest in research. Invest in local research. Our own peculiar African problems, we don't have the problems they have over there. Invest in areas where, in Africa here, we do not have a lot of trust. We don't trust ourselves. So you can look at it and say, and I also think it will help with foreign investment. So if somebody created a platform where normally if you're living abroad and you are sending money home for somebody to maybe build a house for you, or buy a land and farm, if you have something where you can give the person, and the person can visit the farm every day to see the progress, it encourages that, and then it also stops the person who wants to defraud him from, because he knows that, okay, this technology is not just CCTV where the thing will not work. You're actually talking about the person being physically there, being able to touch, virtually touch what you're doing, and he knows that this is real. You can. So once you invest in research, first of all, invest in research, then invest in the infrastructure of building these things out. It may take a long time. It's not a short-term race. It's not people that are reaping from. If you look at Amazon, for instance, when they started, Amazon was a loss-making company for close to 15 or 18 years of the existence, but they're reaping now because they invested in the I watched a video where he said at the time when he was starting, when he was looking for investors to put money, people were even asking him, what is the internet? They didn't even know, but he saw the future at the time that people were not going to leave their houses to buy groceries. They would sit in their house and they would go online and they would shop, and people would deliver to them. I remember a presentation I made to my professors when I was leaving University of Lagos in year 2000. I gathered all of them together. I was so excited because I'd gone to do my IT in a tech company. So I came back and I was like, do you know that this education that we all have to come to school and sit in the four walls of a class, and for somebody to, do you know that in the next 10, 15 years, people would actually sit in their homes and be receiving education anywhere all over the world? At the time, it seemed far-fetched, like, how is it going to be possible? How is the teacher going to teach? On what bandwidth? At the time, we couldn't even have internet that could carry video. But look at it today. So the same thing with VR, HR. Trust me, in the next 20 years, maybe this interview, everybody's going to be wearing, you know, VR goggles, and we won't have to you won't have to go to places, you know, physically again.
Thank you very much, Oluseyi Akindele, for the time you spent with us here on the show, talking so much about new technologies and their impact on businesses. It's been about digital transformation today, and you've done so much in making it as simple as possible for the layman and also very interesting. Thank you for being with us.
If I say yes, practically take me back to class. You know, and like my friend will say, you're doing well.
Thank you very much.
You've given us an AR, VR experience, even though we didn't need to wear the goggles to see you, because we were actually immersed in the new technologies and how much benefit they can provide us.
Thank you very much.
All right, before we go on the show today, we need to let you know about what is happening. That's what we do here. We bring to your knowledge current happenings. So happening currently is a training for the 10th National Assembly, and this is ongoing at the House of Representatives, the lower chamber. It's a leadership training for PAC members, sponsored and facilitated by Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, that is happening, and it's about unveiling the Public Accounts Committee. That's PAC. That's what I meant by PAC. So you need to know that it's ongoing. Don't worry, we'll bring you news around it, information about it, and again, you need to understand that this is sponsored and facilitated by Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. My name is Blessing Aiche. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you for being with us. 10 a.m. overtime for Business Insights. You have to stay with Sook News, where it's happening. A lot of good things are happening. Femi.
And that's our package for today. This is where we'll wrap it up. I'm Femi Ayodele. Have a nice time.